Why did the U.S. go to war in Vietnam? This is a question historians continue to debate. After World War II, the Soviet Union dominated Eastern Europe and set up communist governments in these countries as satellite states. Many Americans saw communism as opposed to the democratic ideals they upheld. When the Communist Revolution took root in China, American officials feared it spreading in Asia. 5 reasons. Reasons why the United States went to war in Vietnam. Reason 1. The domino theory. The U.S. government believed that if Vietnam fell to communism, it would lead to a chain reaction of communist revolutions throughout Southeast Asia. This theory was based on the idea that communist countries were inherently expansionist and would always seek to overthrow non-communist governments. President Dwight Eisenhower invoked the domino theory in a press conference held in Washington on April 7, 1954. His reference to Southeast Asia becoming communist was major news the following day. The New York Times headlined a page-1 story about his press conference. President warns of chain disaster if Indochina goes. Reason 2. The Cold War. The Vietnam War was part of a larger struggle between the United States and the Soviet Union for global influence. The U.S. government saw the war as an opportunity to prevent the spread of communism and to assert its dominance in Asia. Reason 3. The French colonial legacy. Vietnam had been a French colony for over 80 years. And the French government was reluctant to give up its control over the country. The U.S. government became involved in Vietnam partly to support the French and to prevent the country from falling into communist hands after the French withdrew. Reason 4. The rise of Ho Chi Minh. Ho Chi Minh was a Vietnamese nationalist leader who had been fighting for independence from France since the 1920s. He was also a communist, and the U.S. government saw him as a threat to its interests in Southeast Asia. Reason 5. The Gulf of Tonkin incident played a pivotal role in escalating U.S. involvement in the Vietnam War. It refers to 2 separate confrontations that occurred in the Gulf of Tonkin, off the coast of North Vietnam, involving U.S. naval ships and North Vietnamese forces. The first incident took place on August 2, 1964, when the USS Maddox, a U.S. destroyer, reported being fired upon by North Vietnamese patrol boats. This event led to President Lyndon B. Johnson ordering retaliatory airstrikes on North Vietnamese targets and seeking congressional support for further military action. The second incident, which occurred on August 4, 1964, involved reported attacks on U.S. naval vessels by North Vietnamese boats. However, later investigations and declassified information raised doubts about the nature of the second incident. Evidence suggests that the reported attacks on August 4th might have been based on misinterpretations or false radar images, and there might not have been an actual attack. The Johnson administration used these incidents to seek a congressional resolution that became known as the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution. This resolution, passed by Congress on August 7, 1964, granted Johnson broad authority to use military force in Vietnam without a formal declaration of war. Over time, it became evident that the second Gulf of Tonkin incident was not as clear-cut as initially portrayed. Declassified documents and investigations revealed discrepancies and raised questions about the actual events that transpired. This incident became a focal point for critics who accused the government of exaggerating or misrepresenting the events to justify escalating U.S. involvement in Vietnam. The Vietnam War was a long and bloody conflict that had a devastating impact on the people of Vietnam. The war lasted from 1955 to 1975, and it is estimated that between 2 and 3 million Vietnamese civilians were killed. The war also had a significant impact on the Vietnamese military, with an estimated 1.1 million soldiers killed.